It's Monday, June 16th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. A Maritime town grieves the death of a 3-year-old child at the racetrack. Atlantic premiers meet governors from the U.S. to coordinate a pushback on tariffs.
More sunshine on Tuesday, with showers returning to the Maritimes on Wednesday.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. In Woodstock, they're mourning the death of a little child. It happened at the community's harness racing track on the weekend as crowds were watching. CTV's Nick Moore is in western New Brunswick. He has the latest on the investigation from there. Nick?
Well, good evening, Todd. Police in Woodstock are describing this as a tragic accident that happened at around 1:20 p.m. on Saturday afternoon.
It's the second race here at Connell Park. It's the second race of the season.
A video on YouTube appears to show the moments before and after the incident, which itself cannot be seen. An announcer can be heard saying quietly what just happened. A few seconds after that, this announcement was made.
We need an ambulance. Call an ambulance, please, to the grandstand.
Upon arrival, our first responders determined that a 3-year-old had been struck by the starting gates, which were being towed by a pickup truck. The child was transported to the Upper River Valley Hospital, and despite the efforts of bystanders and emergency personnel, he tragically succumbed to their injuries.
Woodstock police are not confirming the circumstances of where or how the young child was struck, nor the child's name or where they're from. Police say their investigation is ongoing, adding that at this point it is not criminal in nature.
The scene itself has been released, but any decisions regarding future use, certainly either whether interim or further than that, will be made by the town of Woodstock as the owners of the facility.
A statement from the town calls the situation heartbreaking, and the Woodstock Driving Club is fundraising for the child's family. The Atlantic Province's Harness Racing Commission says it is cooperating with the investigation. Police are asking people who saw the incident or who may have relevant photos or videos to contact them. Nick Moore, CTV News, Woodstock.
Now to a story you'll only see on CTV. An elderly man is recovering in hospital tonight after allegedly being left alone in a transit van at a retirement home for 7 hours. The man was finally found and rescued by his family. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness has the story.
This is a photo of 81-year-old Donald McKean during a visit to his daughter's house last Wednesday. McKean was dropped off by a mobility van at 1 p.m. with a scheduled return to his senior's residence booked for 3.
That day he had a great visit. The driver came and picked him up at 5 to 3, and at 10:30 that night we got a call from the Magnolia that said that he had gone with a family member and hadn't returned.
Immediately thinking something was wrong, Kristen Giles and her husband Andrew drove to the Magnolia Continuing Care Home about 20 minutes away. Shining their light in the windows of the van, Giles saw an empty wheelchair.
Andrew smashed the window out of the van, and we found it on the floor. We thought he was gone when we found him.
McKean was rushed to hospital. The heat inside the locked vehicle, combined with being stuck in a cramped space, took a toll.
His shoulder and his face were on the floor of the bus, and one shoulder was pinned behind his back. And there's a knuckle on the floor that the seat is attached to. And he had laid on that for so long, it actually punctured his side.
Being the only passenger in the van, Giles isn't sure how her father was left behind or wasn't reported missing for several hours.
He would have missed evening pills, he would have missed his supper, his bedtime tuck-in. It was 10:38 when they called, I believe.
East Hants RCMP confirm an incident took place and are investigating. Requests for an interview with the Magnolia Continuing Care community were denied, with the director of care saying they had no comment at this time. As for Kristen Giles, she isn't sure where her father will stay once released from hospital. Jonathan McGuinness, CTV News, Oakfield, Nova Scotia.
Premiers of the Atlantic provinces, joined by Ontario, met their counterparts of the northeastern U.S. states in Boston today. It was a show of mutual respect and shared frustration over the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. CTV's Avery McRae reports on what they had to say.
It's a group that has been meeting for decades, but never before with the undertones of today's talking points.
The imposition of tariffs on Canadian products, it's actually disrupting our supply chain here.
New England governors, along with the 4 Atlantic premiers, Ontario leader Doug Ford, and Quebec's economic minister met in Boston today to talk trade and tariffs. The setting allowed American leaders to let their Canadian counterparts know they stand united.
We share cuisine, we share a language, we share an awful lot that cannot be broken by somewhat aberrational language coming from certain parties in D.C.
Another thing shared by the regions is a deeply intertwined energy relationship. Maritime premiers believe that codependency could become even more connected.
I think we can tie our grids together in ways that are going to benefit both of our countries, and we can build the kind of talent pools through joint training initiatives and through other partnerships that will see us through to the other side of this when we get back to normal.
One of those ways could be through offshore wind farms, something Canada currently has none of. But Premier Tim Houston says a Nova Scotia facility could power homes in both his province and the expanded region.
It's clean, it's reliable, it's stable, and it's what we're all looking for. So there's all kinds of opportunity to collaborate on, cost sharing on that, on research to get the cost down, to make sure it's a more mature industry that benefits citizens.
PEI Premier Rob Lance points out how tariffs have forced Canada to reevaluate interprovincial trade, and believes a similar process could play out on the energy front between the two nations.
We can cooperate with our friends and colleagues here in the Northeast United States on a regional approach to many of the challenges we face and on economic development and strategic priorities.
Todd, the tourism topic also came up today, as we have previously reported a big drop in the number of Canadians visiting the U.S. amid the tariff talks. Both Premiers Susan Holt and Doug Ford said openly they are telling residents in their province to travel within Canada as opposed to going to the U.S. at this time. And it's something they say won't change until the tariffs do. Todd?
All right, Avery McRae in St. John, and the governor of Maine reiterated a comment she made to us last week on this show that she'll be coming to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia in the coming days. There's the web poll. We're asking you this question tonight. Will the meeting between the premiers and the northeastern U.S. governors ease political tension? Your options are yes, no, or it's too soon to say. You can vote at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. And international trade is all the talk in Alberta and the foothills. This afternoon, Prime Minister Mark Carney opened the G7 economic meetings at Kananaskis Country. The leaders of the 7 large industrialized economies are talking for 2 days. World trade, upended by U.S. President Donald Trump, will be a topic, as will the war in the Middle East. Trump and Carney held separate talks this morning. The American president said a trade deal could come into effect with Canada, and that he's focusing on trade in this event. And coming up just after 6:30, we'll dig deeper into both those meetings in Boston and Alberta. And a reminder that there's full coverage of both at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. At court, Adam Drake's defense lawyer tried to poke holes in the Crown's case against him today. The defense made their closing arguments to the jury, asking them to find Drake not guilty of second-degree murder in the death of Pat Stay. CTV's Calum Smith joins us. Calum, deliberations then beginning soon, I guess.
Beginning tomorrow, Todd, but today defense lawyer Michael Lacey said the Crown is asking jurors to use confirmation bias in order to deliver a guilty verdict, something they took an oath to reject, vowing to judge the case fairly. He called out several flaws in the quality of surveillance video, a key piece of evidence for the Crown. He said if it was that clear, the Crown would have played the video and sat down. He described the footage as grainy, saying people can't accurately identify movement and that the camera's distance from the stabbing creates another challenge. Lacey asked several questions, saying jurors might wonder why another man chased down Stay and sucker punched him after, asking if that man was, quote, finishing off what he started. The jury heard that man was arrested after the stabbing. Lacey argued there's no evidence whatsoever that Adam Drake made any physical contact with Pat Stay, and suggested that the Crown has simply not proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Drake, to the exclusion of other potential suspects, stabbed Pat Stay. The only just decision, according to Lacey, would be to return a not guilty verdict. He also highlighted testimony that Drake's demeanor didn't change after the stabbing, that he went to a hotel room with a friend's family and left the next day wearing the same clothing. Also pointing out that no blood or DNA was detected on Drake's satchel that he wore that night. He acknowledged that Stay was beloved, that he deserves justice, his family deserves answers, and the community wants closure. But he said real justice doesn't come from convicting someone to find peace, and that the jury cannot convict Adam Drake on suspicion, uncertainty, or a desire to resolve a tragic case. Now, as he was wrapping up, Lacey reminded the jury that the Crown gave 19 reasons to convict Drake, but he said jurors only need one reason to acquit, and that is reasonable doubt, arguing the Crown hasn't met that burden of proof. He told the jury they could not rule out at least 3 other people that he suggests could have been responsible, and asked them to return that not guilty verdict. The jury will begin deliberating tomorrow after the judge gives his final instructions. Todd.
All right, Callum, we know you'll be watching that very closely. Callum Smith in the newsroom with us tonight. We learned today the price of diesel fuel is being reset at midnight in Nova Scotia. The Nova Scotia Energy Board is invoking its interrupter clause because of what they call significant shifts in market price of diesel oil. The price of gasoline, that is not changing tonight at midnight. All right, there's a live look at Hampton, New Brunswick, where it's currently 18 degrees at the roundabout. Beautiful day after a nice weekend. Let's get our first look at the forecast and bring in CTV meteorologist Kayla Mitchell with some big numbers behind you.
Yeah, I want to begin by just quickly recapping the evening conditions in case anybody's heading out. Temperatures are mostly pleasant across much of the Maritime region. A little bit cooler for a few coastal areas. Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick, parts of the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. The breezy southwest wind playing a role in that. It's more directly on shore for those areas. It is still very much on the breezy side, being sustained 15 to 30 kilometers per hour around the region, and we're getting some gusts occasionally being reported close to 40 kilometers per hour. Checking in on conditions on satellite and radar, a little bit of broken cloud cover developed around the interior of Nova Scotia. There's still maybe a very low chance of a pop-up shower or two with that over the next hour and a bit, but after that, if there are any showers with that cloud cover, they'd be coming to an end. A little bit of broken high cloud cover increasing from the west of us as well, but all in all, pretty decent night for the region, aside from those few wispy broken high clouds, mainly clear conditions with some fog patches developing. Should be an okay one for some night sky viewing, which you could see in the night sky tonight. Well, you're gonna have to stay up really late in order to catch a view of the waning gibbous moon. It's 73% illuminated, but it's not going to be rising above the eastern horizon until after 12:45 a.m. Now, if you're out there after sunset, you can spot the planet Mars, and it'll be right next to the constellation Leo, and they'll be setting on the western horizon between 10:30 and 11:30 p.m. No geomagnetic storms expected tonight, so not expecting a display of the aurora borealis, and the next visible pass from the International Space Station not until very early Sunday morning. Speaking of astronomical events, though, coming up a little bit later this week, Todd, summer solstice. It's coming up at 11:42 p.m. our time on Friday. So that'll be the astronomical start of the summer season. It's also, though, when we start to lose daylight. We're about 15 hours of daylight now, and we'll get down to around 8 hours by the time the winter solstice rolls around.
Good news on one hand, bad news on the other.
That's right.
All right, we'll see you in about 15 minutes. Thank you, Kaylin. People in Alma on the Bay of Fundy face drinking water woes again. As CTV's Derek Haggett reports, it's more frustration in a community that has dealt with problems in the past.
No one is being asked to boil their water yet, but residents in Alma are encouraged to reduce consumption. The reservoir is low, and tourists are already here, so there's concern for a community that has a long history of water issues.
We only have so much capacity, and please conserve where possible so that we don't run into issues where we run out of water.
Mayor Jim Campbell doesn't think a boil order will be necessary.
What we are is glad that the municipality's keeping an eye on the water levels so we can get a warning before we hit a dire situation.
For the third straight year, a temporary water line will come from Fundy National Park for part of the village during the busy summer months. Having to conserve water now, in June, a bit annoying for some.
It is kind of a pain in the butt at the end of the day, because there always is that concern that they will pull the trigger and say it's a boil order, and and then you kind of have to change up your lifestyle.
Not a big deal, but there was a feeling like, oh, I hope we don't have an issue, but I don't believe we will. I hear that we're going to have water soon.
In 2023, $12 million in funding was announced for new wells and infrastructure.
The first phase of that's in the works. That will be the well and the water line and the storage tanks. So we're hoping that will come online in the fall.
Business owners I spoke with today want the public to know that Alma is very much open for business. And in fact, there is a large food festival taking place here in the community this weekend.
100% open for business. And having the water from the park is an enormous help. I don't believe we'll ever reach any problems with limitations this summer.
Derek Haggett, CTV News, Alma, New Brunswick.
Plans for new housing units were rolled out today in a city that badly needs them, the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. Some are wondering how many builds might actually be created because of this and just how soon. Here's Ryan McDonald.
It was an open house of sorts on, well, a new form of housing being proposed for the Cape Breton Regional Municipality.
Doesn't hurt to check it out, right?
15 designs ranging from single units to an apartment sixplex are being offered to residents through the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund. Gabarouse area resident Darlene LeBlanc liked what she saw for the most part, but wondered whether the proposed housing units would work as well for rural living as they might for urban.
Because they want to be able to incorporate the sewage and water, whereas where I'm rural area, I wanted to get more information on rural, because I would have to have a well and septic put in.
So these housing plans are 100% free for anybody that wants to build in the CBRM.
The CBRM says the plans were designed to meet local building codes and have been fast-tracked in hopes that people might be able to start building sooner than later in a city that has been told it needs at least 1,000 new housing units by next year.
We're hopeful that this will actually help address some of the housing issues that people have experienced here in the CBRM. We're hearing a lot of people that want maybe an accessory dwelling unit in their backyard, but they don't know how much a plan could cost or even where to begin.
We have too many people couch surfing and living on streets.
North Side Area Councillor Gordon MacDonald is also hopeful these types of units might help when it comes to the housing shortage, even though he had questions at first about how they might fit into existing streets and subdivisions.
Well, I guess initially when any kind of a design comes forward, you're kind of concerned about how it's going to fit into the neighborhoods, but these designs are laid out and they look great. I mean, most neighborhoods they would fit right in.
Darlene LeBlanc said while she needs more information first, there is another option that for her might be worth considering.
Maybe I want to sell a chunk of my land and build a couple of those on it and have a road going and see if it would be worth my while.
Meanwhile, the CBRM says more public engagement sessions as part of its housing strategy are coming up Wednesday and Thursday in Sydney, North Sydney, and Glace Bay. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Sydney.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The Stanley Cup Finals may be underway, but already we have some names of who will wear the maple leaf for the men's hockey team at the Olympics in Italy next winter. 6 players have been named to Team Canada, and right at the top, 2 stars from around here, forward Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon. Of course, they played together in the World Championships last month and led Canada to a 4 Nations Cup win. Nova Scotia's other big name, there he is, Brad Marchand, is leading talk of who might win the Conn Smythe Award as playoff MVP. The Florida Panthers' name is also in the mix for the Olympic squad. The Winter Games will take place in Milan in February. And we'll take a timeout now. Still to come, mostly clear for the region tonight. Caleb will have the details and the full forecast. But next, more brand names leaving town.
They're going to go without the glass of wine these days and stick to water, for example. They're going to go without the appetizer and the dessert and just go with a main.
A couple of prominent retailers are closing shop amid changing spending habits and tastes. We'll tell you about that next. Some big-name businesses are shutting down in Halifax, another indication of changing shopping and spending habits of many Maritimers, and something of a snapshot of the economy as well. CTV's Vanessa Wright explains.
With all the hype around IHOP finally coming to Nova Scotia, now a mourning of some sorts, as the American breakfast chain is set to close its Bedford location permanently at the end of the month.
Some people were really disappointed. They liked the food and they liked the service. Some people thought it was too expensive, the food wasn't good. Some people were saying, oh, it's an American chain, it doesn't matter.
It wouldn't be the first time an American brand struggled in a Canadian market. Retail analyst Bruce Winder says it can be compared to when Target closed their doors nationwide almost as quickly as they opened them.
Canadians, you know, they're not dumb. They were able to shop in Target in the U.S. and look at the price differential and say, this doesn't make sense. I think the same thing happened with IHOP.
In the case of this Dartmouth Toys R Us, another store set to close, they're not only competing with cheaper alternatives, but steady online competition.
People are deciding category by category where they can sacrifice the drive and where they could sacrifice whatever service. And I think we're looking here at a category that there's not a lot of service that comes with it.
But restaurants are especially feeling the pinch as people become pickier with their spending.
Canadians are very price aware right now, and they're looking at the less expensive items on the menu. They're going to go without the glass of wine these days and stick to water, for example. They're going to go without the appetizer and the dessert and just go with a main and then probably an inexpensive main.
IHOP opened 3.5 years ago, but it's still a tough goodbye for some.
We're really upset about it because this is a restaurant that we love to come together as a family, and we love the pancakes here, so we're super sad.
There's no word yet on what will replace it. Many just hoping its replacement will last a whole lot longer. Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Bedford.
All right, still to come, a fair weather mix of sun and cloud for Tuesday. Kaylin Mitchell has the details in the full forecast. We'll take a break and sail on in 2 minutes' time. Looks a little hazy in Fredericton. Is that just the heat? 22 degrees.
I don't think it would be the heat.
No, I wouldn't.
Didn't notice a lot. It does look like there's a little bit of a haze there, though, doesn't it?
That wouldn't be wildfire smoke.
See, I was taking a look at satellite throughout the day today. I didn't really notice a lot of wildfire smoke above the Maritime region. I don't know, we just got a little bit of dust kicked up or something on the go.
Yeah. It's a beautiful day in Fredericton, as it was throughout much of the region today. Nice to feel that sunshine, feel the warmth after what was, hallelujah,
a pretty decent weekend.
A pretty decent weekend.
Yeah, that's right. And a couple of pretty decent days ahead of us here in the Maritime region. A couple of days with a chance of showers this week as well. We'll get into that in the 7-day forecast. Let's take a look, though, at weather conditions across the country. Warmer on the south coast of BC right now, still a little bit earlier in their day, but up to 21 already in Vancouver and Victoria. We've got low 20s in areas of Alberta. There are some wildfire smoke issues up in the northwestern corner of Alberta. Some air quality warnings still in effect. Saskatoon seeing some rain and it's cooler as a result, sitting at 16 degrees. Winnipeg at 23. Up north, it's a mix of sun and cloud right now, both Whitehorse and Yellowknife. Yellowknife sitting at 22. Cooler at Iqaluit, sitting at 2 degrees currently. Labrador City reporting some rain, sitting at 8. But Happy Valley Goose Bay seeing a little bit of sunshine and up to around 22. 18 at St. John's right now in Newfoundland, and here in the Maritimes, we've got 22 to 24 degrees around the Fredericton area, 22 at Charlottetown, and 19 degrees at Halifax. Taking a look at our forecast timeline for cloud cover and precipitation. Let's move through tonight. Just a few clouds around. Most of that will be some thin, broken high cloud cover. During the overnight hours, there will be some patchy fog developing. Highest chances of fog will be around southern areas of New Brunswick and parts of the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. Through the day on Tuesday, we're looking at a mix of sun and cloud. There's maybe a very low chance of a couple spotty showers in parts of New Brunswick, but it's about a 20% chance for any given community. Otherwise, we're looking at some pretty comfortable temperatures and wind conditions very similar to today. Winds are expected for both tonight and tomorrow to remain mostly out of the southwest. Tomorrow's winds will be sustained 20 to 30 kilometers per hour in the afternoon with occasional gusts up to around 40. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight. For New Brunswick, most areas falling between 10 and 14 degrees, so closer to 8 around the Bay of Fundy coastline. Most lows for Prince Edward Island tonight, 10 to 14 degrees. Many areas of Nova Scotia looking at low temperatures tonight between around 8 and 12 degrees. A little bit milder for a few areas in Inverness County and Cape Breton, including Shettycamp, getting down to around 14. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow for communities in the north of New Brunswick, up between 24 and 27 degrees. Mix of sun and cloud, a little bit breezy. Fredericton tomorrow near 25, 24 for St. Stephen. Then you've got that southwest wind kicking in off those Bay of Fundy waters, so 18 for Grand Manan and Campobello, 19 for St. John before temperatures come up towards 23 for Moncton in the southeast. Prince Edward Island tomorrow with high temperatures of 20 to 24 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. And then for eastern areas, Nova Scotia and Cape Breton, mostly 20 to 23 degrees, except between 18 and 20 on the Atlantic coastline. A little bit cooler on the coastal areas for the eastern shore of Nova Scotia, but moving away from the Atlantic coastal areas, even up towards the North Shore, high temperatures will be mostly into the low 20s. 21 for Amherst, 24 for Truro, 22 at Enfield, 20 for the city centers Halifax and Dartmouth, and 18 for Chester and Lunenburg, but 21 for Bridgewater. 18 degrees for Liverpool, Shelburne, and Yarmouth for tomorrow. Pretty pleasant in the Annapolis Valley with most communities high temperatures near 23 degrees. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook, beginning first with New Brunswick coming up on Wednesday. It is going to be increasing cloudiness and scattered showers. There will be a lower chance of showers on Thursday, mostly for western parts of the province, and a low chance of showers on Friday. Remember, late Friday night, 11:42 p.m., it's the summer solstice. And then after that, it's a mix of sun and cloud for the weekend ahead with a chance of showers next Monday. And for Nova Scotia, coming up on Wednesday, showers developing through the day. First part of the day, highest chance of showers will be in the southwest of Nova Scotia. By the time we get to Wednesday evening and Wednesday night, the chance of showers will be more province-wide. Lower chance of showers on Thursday. Same thing goes for Friday, and a mix of sun and cloud for the weekend ahead, both Saturday and Sunday. High temperatures, low to mid-20s. Chance of showers added on Monday of next week. And for Prince Edward Island, coming up on Wednesday during the day, increasing cloudiness. Showers expected to develop Wednesday night. Those will be ongoing into very early Thursday morning, but after that, they clear away. There'll be a chance of showers on Friday. Temperatures looking a little bit warmer, but they do cool for the start of the weekend. Well, the weekend forecast right now, Todd, looking pretty nice with a mix of sun and cloud on both Saturday and Sunday.
It does at that. Okay, thanks. We'll see you at the end of the show. Next, we're going to talk more about those meetings in Boston and Alberta about trade. And we have the Lifeline and this on the scene.
Hey, my name is Andre Pettipas. I'm a full-time musician from Antigonish County, and I'm here to talk today about my single Gypsophila, which is my most personal release yet. Find out later in the show.
Okay, so tomorrow's Text to True Tuesday, so we're going to give you a chance to win a $50 gift card to St. Louis Bar and Grill.
Also get a shot at a trip for two to Osheaga and Montreal. Good luck.
Back to a couple of big meetings we're keeping our eye on tonight, both on trade and tariffs. Watching it all, Laurie Turnbull, political science professor in the Faculty of Management, Dalhousie University. Hi, Laurie.
Hi.
Let's start in Boston. We're pretty used to Atlantic and New England leaders meeting, but this expanded to include New York and Ontario. Not a whole lot came of this other than a mutual declaration that tariffs hurt, but was that the point of it anyway, to show sort of a united front?
I think so. I think there are potentially a few points of it. I mean, the governors who were in attendance were, for the most part, Democrat. I think there was one Republican. And so the idea that this meeting was going to change Donald Trump's mind, or, you know, the idea that there's some kind of pipeline between him and his meeting, between him and this meeting, you know, pun intended, I guess. No, not that. However, the relationship between Canadians and Americans, as we know, is very longstanding. And in our part of the country, the trade, the commerce, the business, but also the tourism, the friendships that go across that border and have become part of our lives. These things were really disrupted by Trump's decision to declare a tariff war on us. And honestly, even today at the G7, when he's talking about, you know, he thinks that Canada and the Americans can reach a deal, he still says he's a tariff guy. And so I think that I can understand from the political leaders in, you know, on the eastern side, they want to continue to reinforce the ties that bind there and to see what can be done even though the tariffs are still in place.
Yeah, I mean, north of the border, I think we have the most to lose in a trade war like this. But listening to those governors, I mean, clearly they're feeling it, and they're seem every bit as worried as Canadian politicians.
I think that's right, because as time has gone on, I think a lot of people were hoping, and I suspect probably a lot of people on the American side too, that Trump would let up on this and that this would be, you know, some sort of temper tantrum on his part, and eventually he would claw this back and things would go back to normal. But now that hasn't happened. And I think for a lot of people in Canada, they're not going to travel to the U.S. again until they can see this tariff policy be rolled back up. right? Like some people might never go back. Some people may kind of change their position over time. And other people are going to not return to places in the U.S. that they love, even though they love the vacation, they love the people, they love the things to do. They're not going to do it. If we're still in this space where Trump is against us like this. And so that's hurting relationships, that's hurting the tourism circumstances in the U.S. and they're feeling that, you know, especially because now this is the time of the year where a lot of Canadians would have started their travel down to New England or they're planning it, and those bookings are not being made.
Yeah, and like us here in the Maritimes, you've only got, what, 10 or 12 weeks to make your money in the summer. Can the governors pressure Congress to any great level of success? Because I think that's what they're going to hope to come out of this meeting, by saying we're going to, you know, go down to Washington and, you know, make this known to Congress.
That's what politics is all about, right? It's the pressure, it's the building a consensus, it's the trying to get people to see the value of what you're saying and be persuaded by the costs associated with this. I mean, it's possible. We have to think at some point when Trump is talking about how much money they're making on the tariffs, it's like, yeah, you're collecting that money from Americans, like, and this is at a cost. Right? Like at some point, the economic reality of the measures he's taking have to come back to roost here. Right? And so I would think, hopefully, at some point, regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat or neither, that the arguments around the economics of it alone will start to resonate.
Right. Okay, well, let's jump out to Alberta, where the G7, of course, is taking place. And Donald Trump didn't utter 51st state in his initial meeting with the Prime Minister. I don't know, small victory, perhaps?
Yeah, we'll take it where we can get it, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he's wearing his Canada-U.S. pin, and he's really the focal point, I guess, of the meeting, even though everybody's trying to make him less so. I think Carney has worked really hard to try to make it less possible for Trump to suck the air out of the room by inviting lots of people and engaging conversations with other partners, potential partners, talking about different ways in which we will move forward, even as the U.S. is in this, you know, in this position of not wanting to be the predictable partner and the reliable partner that it has been so far. It looks like Trump is open to a deal, but he doesn't really say what form that would take, and he seems not to be backing away from the tariffs.
No, that's right, to your point, and you mentioned it a little earlier. He said, yeah, he thinks we can get a deal done, but hey, I'm first and foremost a tariff guy, so the one hand giveth, the other take it away, I guess. Yeah, back to that point, this could easily descend into a 6-against-1 event. That's really Carney's line to walk, I guess, is it?
Right. And I think to his credit, Carney has tried to negotiate and manage the relationship with Trump by always giving Trump space to show up like an adult if he wants to. Carney has never taken a hard line against in a way that would make Trump feel isolated and feel like there's no point in trying to do a deal. I think Carney's tried not to hurt Trump's feelings in some ways, and Trump's feelings are a very important part of how he does political business. But I think at this point, Carney is hosting this meeting in the hopes of really exploring partnerships that will make us less dependent on the U.S. We already know that Canada is going to sign on to this Rearm Europe deal, and that's going to be huge for us. That's going to be, you know, there's a significant amount of money, like 800 billion euros, going to be put into this between now and 2030. And so, I mean, with that kind of partnership, even, you know, doesn't mean that we don't need the U.S. Doesn't mean we don't want them. It just means we're showing up differently here if this goes through.
Typically with these events, the work is done ahead of time. You know, basically everything's worked out, and then you'll see the 7 leaders sign agreements at the end. Do you think we'll get that type of signing in the case this year?
We won't get the joint communique. We won't get I'm sure we'll get some version of a family picture, but I don't think we're going to get the one big happy family result at the end where everybody signs on and says we're going to do all these great things together. I think it's going to be a series of smaller agreements between specific countries, between specific partners, so that they're not giving Trump that opportunity to spoil it all at the end, right? Like he did the last time we hosted, when at the end he says, "Oh no, I'm not going to sign onto this after all," and then he, you know, throws a tantrum and calls Trudeau a bunch of names on his way to this flight. Like, I think Carney needs this to work. He needs this G7 to be productive, and I don't think he wants to give Trump the opportunity to you know, overturn it.
Right. Lori Turnbull, we appreciate your insight. Thank you for taking some time for us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a break. Lots of the show still on the other side. Stay with us. In our nightly look at health headlines, a PEI researcher is looking into a genetic mutation linked to Parkinson's. CTV's Amanda Debison has that and more in the Monday edition of the Lifeline.
New research into Parkinson's disease will be happening later this summer in our region.
Atlantic Veterinary College researcher Dr. Jay Penny has been awarded a $135,000 three-year grant from Parkinson's Canada to study a newly discovered genetic mutation associated with the neurodegenerative disorder. The AVC in Charlottetown is best known for its veterinary medicine program, but it's also home to scientific research on human health. It's in the planning stages now, but later in the summer, the stem cell research will officially begin. According to Parkinson Canada, more than 110,000 people in this country are living with Parkinson's. Research projects like this one in PEI aim to better understand the disease, which could potentially lead to better treatments. Health Canada has recalled a baby toothbrush sold in Dollarama stores across the country due to a possible choking hazard. The Federal Health Agency says the Aura Care Baby Brush toothbrush has a manufacturing defect that can cause the toothbrush to break into two pieces. It says Dollarama has received one consumer complaint about the manufacturing defect, but there have been no choking incidents reported to the company or Health Canada. Dollarama says it will no longer import or sell the product. Finally, did you know walking 100 minutes a day could help reduce the risk of chronic lower back pain? Researchers conducted an observational study between 2017 and 2019. More than 11,000 participants wore sensors for 7 days that tracked their walking patterns. The team followed up with the group in 2021 and 2023, then asked if they experienced lower back pain. The results revealed walking reduced pain by 23%. The study was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
Monday night, we're on the scene with Katie Kelly. Hello there.
Hello there.
Musician Andre Pettipas showing a different side of himself with a new release.
Yes, inspired by personal tragedy. His new song is a powerful step in his journey of healing and purpose.
It took me 2 years after she passed to get sober. I was drinking heavily and, just trying to find a way to keep myself going forward and get through each day.
Andre Pettipas shares a heartfelt new song, a tribute to his niece Blake.
She passed away at 3 months old from SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. The word gypsophila is the flower that represents baby's breath, which is SIDS awareness.
Known for high energy and feel-good anthems, Andre is showing a more vulnerable side. How does it feel when you perform it?
It's emotional.
And what makes this song even more meaningful? It marks a full circle moment in his musical journey.
The Clumsy record from Our Lady Peace is the reason I got into music.
He enlisted help from his hero, Jeremy Taggart, former drummer for OLP.
And I'm like, dude, I got this song. I really think you need to play on it. He's like, love the song, man.
Andre says this release feels like a release.
I try to bring out the best in people and I try to make people forget about their problems. So when I'm like, I've got something that's been weighing on my chest for this long.
It's your turn.
It's my turn, and it's like people want to see the real you.
The same spirit of connection fuels Giant Stock, the annual music festival Andre created in Marygomish.
And we're not just doing music, we're bringing in wrestling.
I saw that.
And not just bringing in wrestling, I'm fighting Ashley McIsaac.
But behind the fun, there's a mission that matters.
Giant Stock's a non-for-profit, which any money made after expenses goes to Baby's Breath, which is the only national foundation for SIDS awareness.
Andre hopes this song and story will reach the people who need it most.
Just trying to raise awareness and promote connection and healing and all that fun stuff,
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hang on.
I know what you're going to say.
He's going to wrestle Ashley McIsaac.
Yes, apparently. Yes.
Where do I get my tickets?
Well, Todd, you can go to Andre's website.
That's hilarious.
Giant stock, yeah. I know, that'll be really fun. He always does wild and crazy stuff. That's why it was so cool to see this side of him, too, you know, with the new song.
Yeah.
But Andre's one of those people, if you want to see him, you can see him because
he works all the time.
All the time. He always has gigs. A couple really cool ones he has coming up, though. Him and Chaos have formed this relationship. He toured with Chaos a lot in the past couple years, and he has some shows with them coming up next month here in the Maritimes, including the Shore Club in Hubbards. So how cool would that be? Chaos and Andre Pettipas in Hubbards. And then Giant Stock, the festival, where he is going to wrestle with Ashley McIsaac. That happens Labor Day weekend, and we've got the details for everything on our website, but go there and check it out and see Andre in his next location.
Maybe they would wrestle at the Shore Club. Thank you. See you tomorrow night. Here's what's on CTV this evening. On the markets, the Dow opened the trading week up 317 points, and there are signs of life in the Canadian real estate market in cities that have been lagging for months. Marilla Fernandez has more on that and the other business headlines.
Canadian home sales fell more than 4% in May compared to May of 2024. But between April and May, home sales were up more than 3%, and that's the first month-over-month increase in half a year. Potential buyers have been cautious since the start of 2025 with concerns about the economy. Here's how the trading day ended. The Canadian dollar is up again to 73.65. West Texas Intermediate is down to 70.25. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it up $4.50 to 61.84. And the TSX is up 64 points to 26,568. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
To the weather deck, Kaylin, and beautiful evening by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable out here at the moment, Todd. Temperatures still pleasant, just the slightest sort of summer breeze on the go at the moment. Speaking of things that are very pleasant, I have a great picture for you, and for that picture, we're going to be taking a look at the Burnt Coat Head area of Nova Scotia. This picture was sent in by Glenn Banfield. I want to thank Glenn very much for taking the time to send this picture in and share with us. Beautiful sky there in the background. As you can see, a bit of a fair weather mix of sun and cloud. And then, of course, the unique topography of the area as well. And for Burnt Coat Head tomorrow, it should be a very pleasant day. Mostly sunny and high temperature near 21 degrees. Breezy, though, like it was today. Day planner for tomorrow across the Maritime region, starting off first thing in the morning. There might be some fog patches here and there that'll have to dissipate or at least retreat off the coast through the morning hours. And then moving into the afternoon, it's mostly a mix of sun and cloud around the Maritimes. This may be a very low chance of a couple very isolated showers in the province of New Brunswick. So spotty, though, that I'd say the chances for any given community of one of those showers about 10 to 20%. Otherwise, high temperatures tomorrow, mostly low to mid-20s, except a little bit cooler on the Bay of Fundy coastline and parts of the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. All right, let's find out what's coming up tomorrow on CTV Morning Live.
Tuesday on CTV Morning Live, pinching pennies.
Trying to save your money instead of spending it, consumer expert Barry Choi gives us helpful tips for apps that can save you money.
News, weather, and more. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, Tuesday.
And finally for us tonight, we leave you with a special ceremony that took place in England today. Members of the royal family stepped out for Garter Day at Windsor Castle. King Charles, Queen Camilla led the procession in velvet robes. The Order of the Garter has been in existence since 1348. They had a lovely day for it today. It includes several members of the royal family and even includes heads of state. That is our look at the day here at home and in Windsor, England. Bruce Frisco has our late newscast at 11:30 after CTV National. CTVNewsAtlantic.ca and the app are always updating our stories, and there's new reporting there. We thank you for watching. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Till then, have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.